discovered 300 some. At this point, it could be more. We have already discovered hundreds of exoplanets. But guess what the startling thing is about these exoplanets? Guess what the startling result is about these exoplanets? We haven't found a lot of Earth-like exoplanets. What we have found are what we call hot Jupiters and hot Neptunes. So very, very, very exciting and interesting finding indeed, where we basically have been finding planets that are big and hot and crazy like Jupiter. Like Jupiter has a mass which is 318 times the mass of Earth. It is the most massive planet in the solar system, and it is extremely huge and big and very different from the other planets. We club it together with Saturn a little bit, but it's really its own. It belongs to its own league and kind of does its own things. We have TikTok and Facebook. We don't know anything about what? What are you talking about? She is a natural beauty. Who? We have TikTok. Who are you talking about? What are you talking about? So all of that is to say that, first of all, finding Jupiters and Neptune, or planets that are sort of like Jupiters and Neptunes, are easier. We're more likely to find those. Our current methods are more biased towards finding those planets. But also what we found, which is startling, is that how close they were to their home star. So not only are we finding these hot Jupiters and hot Neptunes, we're finding them to be very much closer to their sun, to their star, which, as you know, I just mentioned, our Jupiter is at 5.2 astronomical units from the sun, and we're at 1. So it's much farther out. So we think that there's some other. It's very tricky for something as big as Jupiter to really form and do its thing as close to the sun as we are finding these exoplanets where they're located. So we think that they are pulled inward through a different process or method, and we talked about that under the Exoplanets live. So if you're interested, you should definitely, after this live, don't go now, but after this live, you should go, you should subscribe here, and you should go find the Exoplanets live under my live tab, because we talked about all of this in a lot of detail. And we saw that the startling result was we found hot Jupiters and hot Neptunes mostly as the exoplanets, and they were very close to their home star, which our Jupiter and Neptune are not. And we think that's because the materials that make up our Jovian planets are going to condensate at a farther distance from the sun. The environment for their formation is naturally farther away from the sun, and they're also made up of materials that condensate at cooler temperatures, and they're also as big as they are because of all these different reasons. The geometry and the distance from the sun is very important. So we think that, gosh, in these other star systems, there's something else there could be some exchange of angular momentum happening and pulling of the hot Jupiter closer to their star. So all these types of very interesting results came out of the exoplanets in answer to your question about aliens. If there are aliens, we expect, it would be good to find other planets where that could support life or even show evidence of life. So the other thing I think also is that, for example, Mars has evidence of liquid water in the past. So just because it doesn't have liquid water now doesn't mean that it could not have had it in the past at some point and may have supported life at some point in the past. So that's the other thing. When we find, say, new planets too, exoplanets and whatnot, it's not necessary that they have to have life right now. It's more important to see if there was ever an environment that could have supported life. But all of it is very difficult when you consider exoplanets because they're so far away. So that was we were looking for exoplanets. We were looking, maybe thinking, let's see, do we find other Earth-like planets or not? Because of course, when you look for exoplanets, if you find an Earth-like planet, gosh, wouldn't that be a huge piece of news?